So welcome everybody. My name is Jan Lehman. I'm the owner of CTC Productivity, and with me and you is one of my wonderful team members, Nancy Krushke. Nancy's a Microsoft 365 expert, and we're very excited you're here for our webinar series on how to improve productivity in a virtual world, and in particular, how to leverage the Microsoft 365 suite of tools. If you've been with us, kind of following along the way, you know we've been doing a number of webinars. We started off with some high-level webinars about the different apps, and now we're going through and doing some deeper dives. If you have an interest to kind of get caught up, you can go out to our website. Nancy's going to put a link in the chat. Just go out to the website and you can watch any of the past recordings, and you can also register for future sessions that are coming up. And so today we're going to be doing a deep dive on Microsoft OneNote. So we're excited all of you are here for that. And then right now, the other one that we have scheduled is, here we go, OneNote on September 15th. And that registration is out on the events page on our website. So you can register for that one if you're interested in the deeper dive on OneNote. And then we have a question for you. Tell us what apps you want us to do a deep dive on. We've already started with some of our favorite apps, and now we're kind of open to whichever ones you guys might be interested in. So just feel free to enter into chat if you've got a particular app you'd like to have us do a webinar on, and hopefully you'll see that in the future. All right, these slides don't like me today.
Oh, I was letting someone in.
We're fighting over who gets to have the screen. All right, I've just got a couple quick slides, and then Nancy's gonna take over. And just so you know the way these work, Nancy's gonna do about a 30-minute deep dive. Typically when Nancy and I speak, it's very interactive, but on these webinars, we just really keep it more of a monologue for 30 minutes, let Nancy get through the content. And then if you only have a half hour, you can log off the call, or if you want to stick around, we open it up for Q&A at that point. So that's how we structure our meetings. This slide is one of our favorite slides. It's just a really powerful slide to help us realize the opportunity that's out there. The Wall Street Journal is saying that most office workers are wasting almost 40%, close to half their day, because they weren't taught organizing skills to deal with the demands of today's environment. So this is talking about organizing your data, organizing your time, your tasks, really everything related to what a productivity consultant does. So it's there's just a huge world of opportunity for improvement for you. So we're glad you're here and making this a priority. We also like this statistic. It's kind of a common statement a lot of people make in the IT space that, you know, most companies barely scratch the surface of leveraging technology. Email's been around for 25 plus years, and to this day, we are still training people on how to manage email. And so Microsoft 365 is a newer piece of technology, so that percentage is way lower when it comes to that. So good for you to be kind of ahead of the curve, wanting to understand this technology and use it more fully. On that note, Nance, I'll turn it over to you.
Okay, so today, as you can see on the slide, and if you've been in other sessions, you've seen this slide many times, but your Microsoft 365 plan comes with a load of applications and software that you can use. And so this is kind of representative of the mainstream ones. There's even more that are included in many of the 365 plans. So today we're going to focus just on OneDrive and talking about cloud storage. You might be familiar with cloud storage if you have a Box account or a Google Drive account, or Mark Early said he uses Dropbox. Amazon Drive, if you have an Amazon Prime account, I don't know if you knew that, but you do have some storage space on Amazon Drive. And also if you're using iTechnology or Apple technology, the iCloud. And what that really means with cloud storage is that your files, rather than them living on your device, so whether it's your phone or your tablet or your hard drive of your computer that sit on your desktop or your laptop, is that those files reside in what we call a cloud storage location. It's really a server. It's not in the cloud, actually. It's a server owned by any of these companies that we engage with. And to get the information there, it goes through kind of the cloud, right? So when we're saving a picture or we're sending a text or sending an email, it's like, where does it go? Well, it bounces around all the lines out there. And that's the same thing as we save files to any of these things. So it's just kind of affectionately become known as cloud storage options. So even if you're not using OneDrive right now, you might be using any of these others, especially if you're saving your photos to a cloud location. I know Jan sends hers to the iCloud. I personally send my photos to OneDrive. And so if my phone crashes, all the photos on there, I still have a backup of them. One of the benefits to the cloud storage, one I just recommended, that's the bottom one here, protect your data loss. So if my device dies, right, which I've had, I don't know about you, but I have had a computer and a phone die on me, never to be resuscitated. But thankfully, the majority of the data that lived on there also lived in a cloud storage location. So there was very little information loss or data loss. Also, to get into almost any cloud storage, there's a login required. And for you or maybe your company, they may have instituted, you might have heard it called multi-factor authentication or two-factor authentication. And you might be kind of under your breath and saying some not so nice things to your company of, oh, this is a pain to try to get in every time. But there's a reason for that two-factor or multi-factor authentication, is because it really helps the security of the data that's saved there. It makes it that much harder for somebody to hack in to your Microsoft 365 account and access your data. I know when I first implemented it for my business, and I set up an app on my phone to, easily just say, yep, accept. I was not in my office, not working that day. It was a Saturday, and all of a sudden I get a notice on my phone that says, hey, do you want to accept this access? And I'm like, I'm not working. But there is a time frame, and it's usually 14 days. It could be 30 days. It depends on what your company sets up, that it automatically says, hey, you need to re-authenticate yourself. So I was able to just ignore that and then deal with re-authenticating on Monday when I sat back down in my office. And so I felt then protected. But at first I had this panic, who's trying to access my data? But the security is there. So, and there's several years ago, maybe not so much, or at least I wasn't as comfortable. But over the last 3 to 5 years, it's like the security is just getting better and better. And Microsoft has a really good, nice security level. Another benefit of putting items in a cloud storage is that you can access it anywhere, anytime, on any device. So whether you are using a web browser, so whether that be Chrome or Firefox or Safari or Microsoft Edge, you can go ahead and log into your 365 account and you can access those OneDrive files, any of that data or pictures that you put out there. If you're using a phone, and this just happens to be an Android device view, you can go in, I'll sign into your Microsoft account on your phone, getting the app, and then you're able to go ahead and view all of your files outside on your phone as well. And you also have the ability to synchronize any of those OneDrive files, those cloud storage files, with your computer. So here again, I'm focusing on a PC, not Mac, so don't mean to not include the Mac. It's very similar, but it's not File Explorer, it's a Mac Finder. And so you also can go ahead and synchronize your OneDrive files to your Mac as well as your PC. So when you are on a web using a web browser, there's two things that you need. One is you need to have internet access, obviously, and the second is a Microsoft account to log into. Once you have those two, this is just a bigger kind of image of what you're going to see in that web browser. It's going to tell you, hey, you're in OneDrive, who the user is, and then you'll see you have access to either my files, in this case they're mine, recent files that I've accessed. If I have shared files, I can look at that as well. I can also discover files and go ahead and search and say, hey, I'm trying to find this. And then if you do trash any of them, you do have a recycle bin that you can go ahead and look in the recycle bin if you accidentally deleted something from your files. So this is just the view from your web browser. If you're on a device, as I mentioned before, and it doesn't matter if it's an Android device or a Windows device or an Apple device, you just go to your store, whatever your app store is called, search for OneDrive, go ahead and download and install it, and then you will need to go ahead and log in to your Microsoft account and just add the account to it. If you happen to have multiple Microsoft accounts, such as I do, I have a business account and I have a personal Microsoft account, you can add multiple Office or Microsoft accounts to your device and have access to all of your files when you're out and about. And then the third one I'm going to show is just the Windows 10. If you are using a Windows 10 PC, OneDrive application is already preloaded on your computer. And so all you need to do is go down to search, type in OneDrive, it pops up the OneDrive app. Go ahead and click on it, and if it's the first time you're setting it up, you're going to get a window that looks like this to pop up. And it says, hey, do you want to set up your OneDrive? So you just enter your email address for your 365 account and go ahead and click sign in, and then it'll ask you for your password. And if you have multi-factor authentication set up, it's then going to ask you to go ahead and authenticate that sign in. If you
can I,
yes.
oh, sorry. I thought
No,
you were
go ahead.
Sorry, I was going to interrupt real quick. If you're furiously trying to take notes, one thing you might consider is just sit back, listen, try to learn how the process works, realize you can go back later to the recording and pull it up when you're actually walking through the steps. So we're going to be doing, you're going to have a lot of data you're going to have to keep track of. So just a little hint there. Sorry, Nance, didn't mean to interrupt.
That's okay. I'm going to pause because there's a train going by right now.
Love it. Go figure. And feel free, while we're going along, feel free to go ahead and start entering questions in the chat. If they are quick, immediate things, Nancy might go ahead and answer them, but it's okay to start whatever's popping up in your head, enter it in chat, and then we'll address them at the end.
Okay, we might hear it on the tracks, but at least we're not hearing the horn. The disadvantage is to living right by the railroad tracks. As you'll see too, if you do find the OneDrive app on your computer, but you don't have a Microsoft account, you can go ahead and create one. Anybody in the world can create a free Microsoft account. As I mentioned, I have my business account as well as a personal free account that I'm able. So it gives me kind of double the storage, which is kind of nice. Plus I can keep my work files separate from my personal files like my pictures. Another way that you can get the OneDrive app, if you find that it is not, for whatever reason, loaded on your Windows computer, or you're not upgraded to Windows 10 right now, is when you're on the web and you've signed into your Microsoft account and you're in your OneDrive, at the bottom of your files list, you'll see the option to go ahead and click Get the OneDrive app. And so when you click on that, it jumps you over to the OneDrive.com website. And you can just go ahead and sign up for free or sign in or download and just follow whatever's on the screen of that Microsoft page. Windows 10 also gives you the access, as I mentioned before, and even in the Mac, in the Finder, to go ahead and synchronize your files. And if you've noticed or looked at the pictures, you'll notice that the layout is identical no matter where you look, whether it's in the browser, on the website, whether it's on your device, or whether it's in File Explorer or Finder. That it's very, very similar. It's going to show you where your the name of your accounts and the files and the folders that are listed there. I don't know how many years ago it was. One of the questions that we get all the time is, but if I synchronize those OneDrive files and I have a bunch of information out there and now I'm synchronizing it, therefore putting a resident copy on my device, what if I run out of space? And I'm not going to have enough space if I have, 10 gigabytes and I'm going to put 10 gigabytes on my computer hard drive or my phone. And so Microsoft has what they call files on demand. And many of the other cloud storage have a very similar, they may not call it files on demand, but Dropbox has a similar one. I'm pretty sure that the iCloud does too. And so when you are looking at the files in a Windows 10 PC File Explorer, it's going to tell you what the status of that file or those folders are. And so based on what the little icon is, if it's a cloud or if it's a check mark, so if it's a cloud, those files are only available when you're online, so you have to be connected. So what you're actually seeing on your computer is just kind of a placeholder saying, hey, here's the folder and here's the files that you have out there, but until you actually click on them, they're not going to be available to you. So it's going to take a little bit for it to download that file, for you to then open it up and to be able to edit it. If you happen to see the green circle with white in the center and the green check mark, that means that you've already downloaded it and it's available. So as soon as you click on that file folder or that document, it's going to open up for you. You don't have to wait for it to download. And if there happen to be files that you're like, you know what, I use this all the time, whether I'm online or offline, and I want it to be available all the time, you actually can mark it and say, always keep this device on my computer. So we have some clients, and probably the biggest document that we're seeing of that type is kind of budgets, okay? You're working on budgets for a project, and that might be something that, hey, you're gonna work on it, but you're gonna sit outside and you don't have internet access, or you're in an airport traveling and you don't have internet access. And so always keep on this device is kind of a nice option for those files that you need access to anytime, on or offline. When you are saving a file, you also get the option, once you have connected and synchronized using the OneDrive app, your OneDrive files to your computer. And there's just a couple different views depending on where you click Save As. And so I wanted to show both of those to you to just let you know that once you've connected all those accounts, those Microsoft 365 accounts, to your PC, and again, it's a very similar view if you're using a Mac, you have access to all of those file locations, and then you can pick those instead of putting them on your computer. And so that's kind of nice. The other nice thing about it is, like, I just recently upgraded my computer, and I didn't really care how big my hard drive was because most of my files are not kept on my computer. So I didn't need a 1 terabyte for my desktop computer. I could get a smaller hard drive space because of that fact. Another benefit of cloud storage is that you can save time. And when you save time, you know, the reason you're doing that is because now you can share and collaborate and co-author. And the supported apps within 365 are Word, Excel, PowerPoint, and OneNote, essentially what Microsoft still calls their Office apps. And those are the ones that you can collaborate. So like this PowerPoint presentation that Jan and I are sharing with you today, excuse me, it lives in a OneDrive location, and we can both open it and work on it at the same time. So it really saves us a lot of time. We don't have to, I work on it and I email her a copy and then she emails it back and I work on it again. Forget all that. We're just able to both be in it at the same time, and it's just a huge time saving. So if you're in a Mac or a PC and you have an Excel document or a Word document open, you can go ahead and share that file. So if it's living on your OneDrive, so whether it's your personal OneDrive or whether it happens to be your business OneDrive, you will see that share button. Also, if you have your OneDrive open on a web browser, there's also a share button. So it's just a matter of go ahead and click share when you're in that document. And it's going to pop up this view and it's going to say, hey, okay, you want to share this particular file with someone else. What do you want to do? So who do you want to share it with? So you can go ahead right here and you can enter their email address and add a personal message and just click send, and off it goes an email. You can modify who and the link settings. So is it only specific people? Is it people that already have access? So maybe this file already lives in a shared location. Is it people within your particular company? Or are you sending this and anyone who has the link to this can access that file? If you're in your company, you may notice, if you've ever tried this, that the anyone with the link may be grayed out because companies are concerned about security, which is, you know, understandable. And so you might not have the ability to utilize the anyone with this link option. Also on that link setting, you'll notice that there's a check mark in allow editing. So if you only want them to be able to read it and not actually edit it, you may want to take that check mark out before you go ahead and send off your share link. And then you would just go ahead and click apply there and finish your email addresses and send it off. When I share an item or you share an item with somebody, what they're going to get is they're going to get an email. And then it's going to say, hey, this person shared a file with you and they're inviting you to collaborate. Do you want to go ahead and open it? Now, again, around the security, if you were not expecting a share invitation and you do not recognize who is sharing it, sometimes even if you do recognize but you weren't expecting it, you may not want to click on it. I just want to, make sure that you're secure and you're not clicking on something that may harm your computer or infect your computer. So typically you might want to just say, hey, I'm going to put it over here and I'm going to share it with you. Then they know that they're expecting this and they know that it's safe to go ahead and click on. You also have the ability when you're in a document, when you're in Outlook. So I'm sending an Outlook email message, and traditionally, what do? We go ahead and we say insert, and then we attach a copy of the file. And so now I have my copy, and Jan would have her copy, and whoever else we included has a copy. But when I edit mine, I now have to email them another copy to get them the updates. So if you have a file that lives in a cloud location already, go ahead and click share the link, and that sends them the link in the email message rather than a separate copy. And it also adds them as somebody that can collaborate and share that file with you. When you're in a file and you're collaborating with somebody, you're going to see up in the top right hand of Word or Excel either the name of the person who is editing or potentially a picture of who is editing. Can't tell you when one shows over another, but just be aware that you might see the full name or you might just see the picture. If I'm in a document and someone joins me, I get a pop-up that says, hey, so someone else just joined and opened this presentation, and you'll see the little face popped up there as well. So that little trainer user is here box, that pops up if I'm already in editing, trainer user joins me, and then it just disappears on its own. But it just lets you know, hey, someone else is in here with you.
It's a little creepy. It is.
And the nice thing, so if you have ever edited and I'm going to go Google Docs because that's where we see most of our clients or prospects that people we're talking to are saying, hey, yeah, so this is very similar to Google Docs when you're editing a doc online. It tells you who else is in there, and it even shows you where their cursor is. And that's the same thing here. You'll be able to see where their cursor is, what line they're on in a Word document, what cell they're on in Excel, what slide they're on in a PowerPoint. So that is all I have, and Jan walked away because she wasn't expecting me to be done. I don't know if she's checking out her kids or her dogs or what. So we're gonna leave it right here. Our next one is Tuesday, September 15th. And again, it's on OneNote. And so doing a little bit deeper dive into OneNote. And I'll go ahead and paste that link there if you want to register for that. And then I think, Jan, we have, do you want to do this before we do Q&A?
Yeah, sorry about that. Of course, they decided to deliver furniture right now. So sorry about that. Okay, so one of the things that we're seeing is that people are starting to think all we do is Microsoft 365. So just a couple quick slides for those of you that don't know CTC productivity. So we definitely do consulting-based projects that are around 365 or other things like that. We do coaching, both individual and team, company-wide training, and then we do keynote and breakout sessions speaking. The specific topics that we cover are, again, Microsoft 365 is a big part of it, process improvement. When we get into individual and team productivity, typically that's about time management, effective communication, email management, leveraging calendars, all those sort of things. And then around effective leadership, the topics are typically running an effective meeting or delegation or better planning and accountability skills, those sort of things. So just a little bit about us. If you have any questions about us or want us to reach out to you, just put in chat, you know, call me, reach out to me. We'd love to connect or answer any questions. But otherwise, we can go ahead and get into the Q&A. And Nance, we already have a couple questions out there.
Yep. So one of the questions was about security of OneDrive versus other cloud storage services. So my experience has been that Microsoft continues to shore up their security. And as we have conversations with IT companies, because every client we work with either has internal IT and or a managed service provider, as we're having conversations with those IT providers and from our own knowledge and research that we've done, Microsoft is really, really, really focusing on their security, and especially with that multi-factor authentication, that their security, they just don't seem to have some of the breaches that some of the other places do. Is it 100%? Absolutely not. I don't think there's any place 100%. I do know, so you say versus other cloud storage. So Dropbox also, I believe, has set up, and you can set up two-factor authentication, and I would recommend that. And I would take a look, even Google. So all of those cloud apps and storage apps, you can set up two-factor. When you add that, you increase your level of security on your files. So, you know, just go and read. So if you are using Dropbox or Box or Amazon Drive, what are they doing to put security measures in place? But I know Microsoft, that is one of their big focuses. And for corporations, they even have threat protection and all these layers that in companies that are added on with having a Microsoft 365 account. The other question is the difference between OneDrive and SharePoint. I'm going to come back to that one. And I'm going to move on to, do you find people outside of the organization sometimes have trouble opening a link to a shared document? That can be the case. So depending on what the internal or what the IT department in general, internal or external managed service provider, has put into place for an organization, there may be an issue with somebody clicking on a link that is received in an email. So we recommend having the conversation with the organization, especially if you are sharing files all the time with them. How can we get past this so that we don't have to have multiple copies, right? Because if we email attachments, now we have all these copies and we have to figure out which one has the right data in, the last data in. So how can we get around the multiple copies, plus sending attachments that could be very large? I know, you know, if PowerPoints can get large, Excel spreadsheets sometimes can get over, you know, can be very, very large. And so the larger files you try to send can cause issues. So really, you know, have that conversation with that outside organization and say, hey, we are collaborating all the time. How can we make this easier on both ends? Are you using 365 with OneDrive and or SharePoint? And can we collaborate that way? Do you need us to set it up? Do you want to set it up? And let's make this as easy as possible. So yes, it can happen that they do have trouble clicking on the link. I recently haven't had any. I do have one of my clients, or one of our clients that we work with, that actually works with the government, and they cannot click on any shared links. So I actually have to send it as an attachment, and they have software that scans it to make sure that it's not going to mess them up internally. And then we do have to do copies back and forth. I do something, they do something, I do something, they do something. You're welcome, Leslie. So let's go back to OneDrive and SharePoint question. And if you have any other questions, anyone else on the call, you know, feel free and type those in there. So OneDrive typically with your Microsoft 365 account is a spot for you to store any files. So rather than storing those files for the company on your C drive of your company computer and having the chance that the computer, something happens to the hard drive and you lose your files, you would want to then store any files that are business files, but are really, they're just yours. You're working on them yourself for whatever reason, and you would want to put those in OneDrive. By putting them in OneDrive, that also gives you the ability to share them with other people internally or externally and say, hey, we're not ready to share this with the whole group. We're kind of working on it behind the scenes. So I'm going to share this with you and I'm going to keep this in my space until we're ready to finalize it and then share it with the whole group. And then you might move that particular file to SharePoint. So SharePoint is essentially the same as OneDrive, except that is where you're going to store all the files for the company, for that project, for the team. And so you can have multiple SharePoint sites. And a SharePoint site is, think of it as a website. So if I had one SharePoint site that's all company, that's essentially a website for everybody in the company. And then I could do another SharePoint site that is this project team. And so everybody on the project team would have access to it. And then you would just store the different files. Here's the files everyone in the company needs. Here's the files we need for the project. You don't have to worry about sharing and adding a share, you know, inviting somebody, because when you put them in the SharePoint site and you say, here's the 20 people that get access or the 5 people that get access, they already have that sharing and collaboration and co-authoring ability. So it kind of takes one step out of the process. Is there any more? Mark, just let me know if that answered your question. Feel free and unmute or just type a comment. So Patricia said, can you share a folder or only files? Absolutely, Patricia, you can share both. So kind of that example I just said was SharePoint, but let's pull that file folder back to your OneDrive. So it's your personal OneDrive, and you create a folder that's Project A, and you have 5 people that you want to collaborate with. When you share that folder, Project A, everybody you invite to, internal or external, now has access to all of the files that you put in that folder. So if you just have one file you need to share with somebody, just share the file. If you know you're going to have multiple folder or files you need to share with somebody, create a folder and invite everybody to that folder. So I hope that answered your question, Patricia. Oh, there she is. She's shaking her head. Yay. Any more questions? We have a little bit more time. We couldn't have answered everything.
You can also ask questions about other parts of Microsoft 365 if we've answered all the ones about OneDrive. You're also welcome to unmute yourself and show your face and ask the question and not type it if you want.
One more review of the on-demand option. All right, I'm actually, Jan, going to just scroll back here to the on-demand option because it'll make it a little easier. We got to love the Zoom and having our pets and our kids, right? So with the on-demand feature, once you have set up the synchronization between your files that live in the cloud storage and your device, whether it's your PC, your phone, your tablet, your Mac, your iPhone, you will see the whole file structure. So like if we look at this screen, my file structure is, there's 4 folders listed here: business documents, clients, coaching, and collaboration. But if I look at now the status column, it says, hey, the business document folder and all of the files that live there, I'm only seeing the folder structure for business documents because all the files and the folder actually still live out in the cloud storage until I click on it and go to open up one of those files. And then based on what the status icon is, either the cloud or the green check mark or the white check mark, depends on, okay, where is that? Is it still living in the cloud? Is it available right now? And with that available, the other piece of the files on demand is I open it today and I edit it. But if I don't access it, and I think Microsoft has this on a 30-day, but it might be a 90-day, if I do not access that file within this period of time, Microsoft says, hey, we're going to free up some space on your hard drive and we're going to send that back to the cloud, but we'll still show you that that document exists, but it'll change from the green check mark in the white dot to the cloud icon again. So Microsoft is always, when it's doing this sync, saying you haven't accessed these, we're going to send them back to the cloud until you need them again. Did that answer your question, Sheila? And feel free to unmute. Yay. Any other questions? Mark, did you have any more questions about SharePoint or anybody else? I know it can get confusing when we talk about SharePoint and OneDrive.
All right. We'll just give it one more minute to allow questions. I think the hardest part with all this new technology is honestly, it's changing your behavior. It's getting out of the habit of, oh, I send an email and I attach a copy, and that shifting that behavior, that's the, the challenge for most people once you understand the technology.
So one other thing, because so now that Jan said that, what sparked in me is that it's not only the behavior, but it's that if I share this file with somebody and they can go into it at the same time as me or whenever I'm not in it, they might accidentally get rid of stuff that is like super, super important, not realizing it's important. So one of the things that I didn't mention as I walked through is that Microsoft also does versions. So if I was in the file this morning and I made edits and I close it and I come back tomorrow morning, and in the meantime, Jan went in there and she's like, oh, this slide is dumb and I don't want this one and we're going to change all this. And then I open it back up the next day and I'm going, where'd all my edits go? Where's all my information? I can actually go and I can find the version that I did yesterday, and I can either restore that, and then that would get rid of Jan's changes, or I can merge the two files together and I can incorporate what I had and that Jan accidentally deleted, that it was like, hold it, this is critical, and the changes that Jan made that she wants to have included in it. So that helps. Again, it's a different mindset of going, oh, okay, so I can go back to previous versions and find that verbiage. And just had a client actually earlier this week I was working with that they had that happen, that there was a version that one of the people was documenting and someone else went in and deleted everything out that they had put in there, going, nope, we've totally changed this. And as they were looking at it, it's like, where's all Michael's words? These are not Michael's words. And they were able to pull up a version, find what Michael had typed, and put it into the final version.
Well, Nancy, I think we go ahead and wrap up. I want to apologize. I'm a certified virtual speaker, and I'm mortified that I had all those things happen. Nancy and I kind of treat these webinars as a more casual event, so my apologies for that. So anyway, so Jennifer, did you just type in a question? How do you find those other versions? I think that came in.
Oh, yep, it did. So if you are, it depends on if you're on the web, so using a web browser to access OneDrive, or if you are in the file, whether it be Word, Excel, or PowerPoint. If you're in the file, and Jen, I'm just going to scroll back here.
Yeah, that's good.
Let's see, what's the easiest one? So if you're in the file, so right here where it says the file name, bid schedule, I would go ahead, you could just go ahead and click on that, and what it does is it pops down a menu and it tells you the file name, it shows you the location, and then you'll also see a little box that says version history, and you click on that, and on the right hand side, in this case Excel, it'll pop open a pane and it will show you all the versions and when they've been date and time stamped. If you're on the web and you have a file open, there's this little icon over here. It looks like an eye. It's the information button. And that little eye, when you click on it, opens the pane, similar to inside of Excel or any of the Office apps. And that pops up, and one of the options in there is show page versions. And so you can look at what the versions are of that file right on the web as well. Did that answer your question? Yep. Awesome. Great, Jennifer. All right, so let me quickly just scroll back down to our last, oops, went too far now. Our last slide. There we go. Go ahead, Jan.
Perfect. Yeah, I was just going to wrap up. I just saw that Gail just joined us. Gail, I don't know, the meeting started a while ago. So welcome. We have to look at the recording out on the website. It'll be out there in a couple days. So again, I'm Jan Lehman with CTC Productivity. This is Nancy Krushke, one of my wonderful team members. I am happy you're here, and look for the session in September, and please reach out to us if we can be of any other help. So thanks so much. Enjoy the last couple days of your summer.